What's up, guys? I'm Laura. This is Puglo, and today we are going to be talking about how to bring your dog to Thailand. Most people think that it is impossible to bring a dog to Thailand because Asia is a little bit strict usually when it comes to importing pets, but Thailand is actually one of the easiest countries to enter. That said, there is still a lot of paperwork, but if you do everything right, there is no quarantine. So let's get into exactly what you need to do, and be sure to stay till the end because I'm going to give you some tips on what it's like actually being in Thailand with a dog. Okay, so if you're thinking about bringing your dog to Thailand or really any country, the first thing you need to do is ensure that your dog meets that country's health requirements. So in Thailand, this isn't very different than other countries. They want your dog to be microchipped. They want it to be up to date on these vaccines, rabies. These are very standard vaccines that a lot of countries will want, so they're good to have anyways if you're a travel dog. If your dog isn't already vaccinated for these, go to a vet and start that process, especially rabies, because that has a waiting period. And the other thing that I would highly, highly recommend getting is a rabies titer test, because Thailand is considered a high-risk country for rabies. So if you're going back into the EU, you will need that. If you're going back into the US, you will need that unless your dog is vaccinated in the US and has the proof of USDA certified vaccination. So you need one of those. But rabies titer, again, super useful document if you're traveling between a lot of countries. So once you know that your dog is up to date on health requirements, you can go ahead and book your flight to Thailand. I recommend doing this before the import permit because you need it to get the import permit. So when it comes to flying to Thailand with a dog, there are a lot of different options depending on where you're coming from. For us, we were coming from Mexico, and the best route actually was to go via Vancouver, Canada, and then we flew Vancouver to Bangkok direct with Air Canada, and he flew in the cabin with me. As far as I know, there are not any airlines that allow like emotional support animals to Thailand. So unless your dog is a service dog, they will have to fit in the carrier under the seat. So they'll have to meet the requirements of whatever airline you're flying. Please keep in mind that airlines limit how many pets there are per flight. I think it's usually around 5. So as soon as you book your flight, or even before you book it, call the airline, ask them if there's space available for pets. And then as soon as you book the flight, go ahead and call them to add your pet. Once your flight is booked, the next step is to apply for the import permit from the Department of Livestock in Thailand. It is what gives you permission to enter the country, so you do need it. So you can apply for it yourself. I actually did it through a company called Reload for Paws, where basically I sent them all of Puglo's information, all his vaccination records, microchips, everything, and they did it for me. It took about 2 weeks and it cost about 100 USD. It was really nice at the time because I was just overwhelmed. I was in the process of like moving. That said, if I was gonna go back, which we are next fall, I would probably do it myself because I know that you can. And I think it's free. So a lot of people in my Facebook group, which I'm also gonna link below, have reported they've been able to do it. The only thing is they always say like, I'm still waiting, and then they kind of get it last minute. So don't apply for it like 2 days before your flight. You wanna give yourself a couple of weeks. Even doing it through Reload for Paws, which has contacts at the livestock department, it still took 2 weeks. But yeah, I'm gonna link my blog post below, which has the emails for each airport in Thailand, depending where you're arriving. You wanna send it to the airport that you are arriving in. So the next step after you have your import permit is to get an international health certificate and get that endorsed by your government. So this varies depending what country you live in. For us, we were in Mexico, so we just got a certificate from our regular vet here, and then we brought it to Sanasika, and they endorsed it to go to Thailand, which fortunately is free in Thailand. If you are doing this in the US, this is gonna be a USDA endorsed health certificate, which are a little more expensive. But the good news is that your vet does it for you. You wanna find a USDA certified vet, tell them that you're going to Thailand. They should know the process, and then they'll do like a health assessment on your dog, and then they'll submit the documents to USDA to be endorsed. And once you have the documents, that is like your export certificate, and you will need to show this to the airline, and you will need to show this to the Department of Livestock when you come into Thailand. Okay, so then it comes time to actually go to Thailand. It is a long flight. I mean, I think unless you're already in Asia, it's gonna be a long flight no matter where you're coming from. For us, it was 16 hours, but Puglo did so good. He actually just slept the entire time. Things I do to tire him out, I always take him for a really long walk before a flight, like as much exercise as possible. I minimize food and water. Everybody asks me like, what did he do on the 16-hour flight? Did he go to the bathroom? He actually didn't. I had like keypads with me, and when we went to the bathroom on the airplane, I carried him to the bathroom. 2 or 3 times, and he was just like, what am I supposed to do? And yeah, when we got out of the airport and we were waiting at the quarantine station, he did pee, which is understandable. It had been like 20 hours at that point. But yeah, pugs are amazing. They can just like hold their pee forever. Once you arrive in Thailand, you are going to go to the AQS Animal Quarantine Station. You are going to have all your documents nicely organized in a folder because you're going to be very tired from the long flight. And you will present that to the officer. He will look at your dog. I don't even want to call it a health inspection because it's really not, but you know, they'll make sure your dog's not like foaming at the mouth. And then they are going to issue your import permit. Oh, you'll pay 500 baht. There is another additional fee, like a customs fee, which I actually wasn't aware of until I got to Thailand. It was around like 130 US, and they told me that I only had to pay this once. So like if we come back to Thailand, which we are, I won't have to pay it again, but I have yet to test that. One thing to remember is that if you are leaving Thailand, you also need to get an export certificate from the Department of Livestock. So again, I did this through Reload for Paws. I think this one is a bit more complicated. I believe it has to be done in Bangkok. So I was actually in Vietnam, and Puglo was in a doggy daycare in Bangkok, and they picked him up, brought him to his appointments, brought him back, met me at the airport, had all the paperwork. It was honestly worth it to use them. Like, it just made my life so much easier. But if you're living in Thailand, like we are going to be next year, I'm gonna try to do it myself. I had to rate Thailand on a scale of like dog friendliness out of 10. I'd probably give it a 7. There are some things that are really frustrating. For example, dogs are not allowed in parks. The beautiful green spaces in Bangkok, not allowed. There is one area of Basheki Park that they are allowed. And on the other hand, like as far as Asia goes, it is pretty dog friendly, especially in Chiang Mai when we were living. There was so many dog friendly cafes. Dogs were allowed in malls. I mean, I brought Puglo with me a lot of places. Most restaurants are like open air anyways, so he was allowed to sit outside, but even inside he was often allowed. He was like allowed in bars. Yeah, like it was actually pretty dog friendly and pretty easy to bring in places. And in Chiang Mai, there's all the like beautiful mountain parks. So in some national parks, he wasn't allowed to go, but a lot of the like waterfall trails around Chiang Mai, he was. There are 2 things that I found really challenging about traveling around Thailand. And this isn't to discourage you, just to give you the reality. So the first thing is that dogs are not allowed in cabin on airplanes in Thailand. So we were able to fly in cabin to Thailand, but then once we were in Bangkok, we couldn't take the hour flight to Chiang Mai. So instead, we had to get a 12-hour private transfer to Chiang Mai, which is way more expensive than a flight and obviously way more time consuming. But the only other option would be to put a dog in cargo, and pugs can't go in cargo, nor would I want to. So yeah, that's something to be aware of. The good news is that private transfers in Thailand are cheap relative to what we would pay at home. So it is definitely an option. And if you need the names of any private drivers, feel free to shoot me a message on Instagram and I can connect you with the one that I used. The thing that was a little bit difficult about traveling in Thailand, which doesn't apply so much if you're like staying in hotels, because there's actually so many dog-friendly hotels in Thailand, especially in Bangkok or really everywhere. And yeah, like they're surprisingly dog friendly. They even let dogs around the pool. It's awesome. But apartments are usually not dog friendly, especially like condominiums. Unless the condo was like built to be pet friendly. I'm literally buying a pet friendly condo in Chiang Mai, basically for Puglo, because it was so difficult for us to find an apartment there. Just the pet culture that we have in the US and Canada isn't really as much of a thing in Asia, though it is growing, especially with small dogs. So people might not see the pet in the way that you see them. But I will say for the most part, especially in Chiang Mai, people were so sweet with Puglo and he got a lot of attention. Thailand is definitely becoming more pet friendly as people adopt dogs. So I'm excited to see in the future what happens with it. And I'll definitely make another video when we move there next year to keep you guys updated. So while bringing a dog to Thailand definitely takes some planning, it is possible and I highly recommend it. We had a great time living there. I love Thailand and I love that I can bring my dog there.